Hi there, and welcome to this day in history for February 3rd. February 3rd is the 34th day of the year in the Gregorian calendar, with 331 days remaining to the end of the year, 332 in leap years. This is the birthday of my firstborn, Mike. When I was a little girl, probably about 7 or 8, some of my friends at school were talking about names, and the name Michael came up. I remember saying, "Oh, I wouldn't name my child Michael. It's too hard to spell." It seemed like a really complicated name when I was in 2nd or 3rd grade. Decades later, when I was expecting my first child, I was at a big family holiday dinner, and I think it was my Uncle Lanny that asked me what we were going to name our baby. We had a girl name picked out, but we hadn't really settled on a boy name. And he said, "Well, how about Mike?" As it happens, if I had been a boy, my dad would have named me Mike. But when Uncle Lanny said that, I thought, okay, yeah, that's it. And I know how to spell Michael now. It's no big deal. And so Michael was born on February 3rd. He's a big old grown man now. I like to study the meanings of names, and the name Michael means who is like God. This is a rhetorical question, the answer to which is there is none like God. Happy birthday, Mike. Word of the day seems a bit anticlimactic after all that big story, so we'll just have today's word be anticlimactic. Anticlimactic is an adjective that means of, relating to, or marked by anticlimax. That's always funny to me when a word uses itself to define itself. So let's look at anticlimax. Anticlimax is a noun that means a sudden transition in discourse from a significant idea to a trivial or ludicrous idea. An instance of such a transition, or an event, period, or outcome that is strikingly less important or dramatic than expected. Anticlimactic comes to us from Greek words that mean down a ladder, which is kind of what it can feel like when the excitement builds and comes to an ordinary ending. First known use of the word anticlimax is in the 1600s, and for anticlimactic, it's in the 1800s. Anticlimactic. And I don't always mention it when I do these videos, but I'm just about always thinking as I find these little historical bits that I tell you about of history as elegant gossip. Here's these people here, this is what they did, and here's what happened because of it, or here's what happened and this is what they did about it. Elegant gossip. In that light, in centuries past, it wasn't unusual for a ranking royal from this kingdom to marry a ranking royal from that kingdom to strengthen their kingdoms in order to mutually benefit both kingdoms. And that's what happened on February 3rd, 1112, when Ramon Berenguer III, Count of Barcelona, married Deuce I, Countess of Provence, uniting the fortunes of these two states. This was indeed a beneficial marriage partnership from the political side. The Catalan states were increased and strengthened. And on the personal side, this was his third marriage. He'd had one child with his first wife, and then she died. He married a second wife, and that's all I could find about her was that he'd married a second wife. So I'm presuming they didn't have any children, and she probably died. But he married Deuce on February 3rd, 1112, and they had at least 7 children. Always good for the kingdom. This is the birthday of Samuel Osgood, born February 3rd, 1747. He was the first United States Postmaster General under the current Constitution. Technically, there were 3 others before this Constitution was written, so if you count it that way, he'd be 4th. But after being the Postmaster General, he went on to become a bank president and lived to the age of 66. The territory of Illinois was created by the 10th United States Congress on February 3rd, 1809. The 15th Amendment to the United States Constitution was ratified on February 3, 1870. This is the one that guarantees voting rights to all men, regardless of race. Today's song is Green Tambourine by the Lemon Pipers. Written, composed, and produced by Paul Lecca and Shelley Penns. Released in 1967, Green Tambourine was one of the first psychedelic pop chart toppers and was the first U.S. hit for the Buddha Records label. The song spent 13 weeks on the Billboard Hot 100 and hit the #1 spot on February 3rd, 1968. Green Tambourine by the Lemon Pipers. Link in the description. And I think that's going to do it for us today. Thank you so much for watching. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. Feel free to share this video with the link in your email, messaging, or social media. If you enjoy this series, you can check out the playlist that contains these videos. I'll put a link to that in the description. That description lives on YouTube, so for other platforms, I'll include the link to my blog page that is called No Really. You can also find me on Rumble, Parler, BitChute, and Getter. All those links in that description. Alrighty, that's all I can think of right now. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time. Do not disturb.
Okay, I turned Do Not Disturb on.
Good job. January 2nd. The 16th. It's all written in Roman numerals, so I had to translate it. Hopefully I got that pronunciation close. Yeah, Annie's ready to go. Flinging happiness all over the place. Alrighty. Back to work.